very good evening to all of you. On behalf of Archloop India team, I am Pranay Kumar Tore, the founder of this organization. I welcome you all. And Aditi Gaur and Shashank Shekhar, co-founder of this organization. Series of webinar where you may experience a new school of thought for rephrasing a time-honored system in form of planning and architecture by various young intellectuals progressing and pioneering in various fields across the globe. Previously, we had 8 webinars, amongst which 2 were the international one and rest of them were the national one. Speakers were from India. Archloop India Initiative is a non-profit, non-government organization powered by a team of young professionals and intellects collectively aiming towards the awareness of art and design, architecture and planning, and also culture and heritage of Indian subcontinent. Today we are heading towards a new session by you about her, and we are setting a new milestone in our journey by this event, contributing towards the education and raising up awareness, understanding and formulation of urban, social, cultural and historic fabric of the society. So I hope you will enjoy this session, and I hope this session will be fruitful to your studies and research. Thank you. Over to you, Aditi.
Thank you, Pranay. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so welcome everybody to another session, and welcome Lokakshi. First of all, I would start. Okay, so I'll just start introducing the session. Like, as we all know, India is very rich in heritage, and especially our historic city, these exhibit rich architectural and cultural heritage. These cities are basically the manifestations of the tangible and intangible heritage that follows the evolution of human generations. So most of the historic cities in the developing countries are facing a major threat due to the rapid urbanization, and it has changed the perception of cities. So to meet the need for more facilities and the development for managing the high density in the central core, the pressure is building over the land and other major resources of the city, which leads to haphazard development within the city core and a change in the land use and encroachment. So the city basically transforms its originality and succumbs to the demand of the economic forces. And quite often, the joy and pleasure of watching the architectural imagery and organization of spaces is lost. And it is thus important that the heritage and architectural character of cities is conserved while catering to the economic imperatives. And this requires a study of the city's core area to maintain its image, which brings us to our topic for the day, which is an imageability of the heritage core of walled city of Jammu, for which we have with us architect Lokakshi Gandotra. She's an architect. She completed her post-graduation in sustainable architecture, post which she achieved the post of inspector architect in the Border Security Forces, the Ministry of Home Affairs, India, and is currently serving the nation, incorporating her learning in the architectural works. And she has a keen interest in research projects, including heritage of historic cities and the way the cities can be sustainable for survival and existence of future generations. I extend a warm welcome to you, Lokakshi, from Archloop India team, and you can please carry forward with your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, Aditi. I'm glad to be here, to be connected with everyone, to share my opinion about the heritage. Okay. So is it visible now? Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So I'm here to share about my study and my very much interest in heritage core. So I'll be sharing you my topic, that is an imageability of heritage core of walled city of Jammu. So Jammu is the city of temples. Okay. So as Aditi just briefed also about it. So it is all about historic cities. That is, it's a represent cultural heritage. Okay, so it's evaluation of human generation. So as a major threat is there in the cities due to this rapid urbanization, when they in the need of meeting so many facilities and development of high density core. So then there is an issue in the heritage core. Okay. So what it leads to the development, like heavy development in the city core around it, and change in some land use, some encroachments because of so many reasons, and because of buildings, because of the traffic and all that. So the city just transforms its originality. So what it is and what it is about, so it just changes. So as we'll start with one of the sayings with Kelvin Lynch, that looking at cities can give a special pleasure, and nothing is experienced by itself, but always in relation to its surroundings. So the sequence of events leading up to it, the memory of past experiences related to the core, the heritage of any city. So every citizen has whole long association with some part of the city, and his image is soaked in memories and meanings. So that's why it is so important to just feel that heritage core and to study it. Okay. So architecture heritage, it gives an experience that it's a pride for the residents of the state, of the city, and also it rejoices a sense of experience and in the tourists as well. And it's a basic tool for the urban renewal and the urban pattern of the city. So it acts as a sustainable model. Okay, so that is, it's very important to know about the heritage conservation, the issues related to it, and to see it, the proper image of the city. Okay. So as we go ahead, so what we will talk about the urban pattern. Like urban pattern, we start with the human settlement. In human settlement, there are human beings, nature, we have buildings around us, society, the infrastructure, and when they all interact, the interaction of all of them becomes the urban pattern. So makes the urban pattern. So it's the relationship between social, economic, and physical environment. So that's why it creates a sustainable model in itself, because social, economic, and physical pillars are there to interact with each other and to create an urban pattern. So basically, all the factors that we talked about, like society and the man-made features that are created, okay, and the landscape, physical and economic landscape that allows for communication with the other regions, and the way in which the topography of the site suggests, okay, so how topography plays a very important role in the construction of a human settlement that way, and the way in which climate leads to building solutions. So it's related to the nature directly. So traditional cities, so it's a very interesting part that is, as we are concerning about the historic cities, traditional cities, so they have been used physical forms to interpret culture and religious beliefs. Okay, like this is an example of Jaipur. So there is a Nahargarh fort on the hilltop. A hilltop was a response to any important building. So it was a fort or a religious building, and around which the walled city started appearing. So, okay. Here starts the urban, here we will discuss the urban pattern of Indian cities. So urban pattern of Indian cities is based on the Winston conceptual model, that is again the socio-economic dimensions. First is socio-economic dimension, that is symbolized by the bazaars, and political dimension that is represented by an administrative symbol. Like I told earlier, that a fort is an administrative symbol in the historic cities. And similarly, the prestige dimension derived from a religious function of a temple. So there are three basic dimensions that make the urban pattern of an Indian city. Okay. So like if we talk about Varanasi, so Varanasi has a religious thing in it, that is ghats are there, and the urban pattern started growing like that around it, and with the riverfront development as well. So as we talk about Hyderabad, so there are monuments and there are forts. So that is an administrative symbol. So the urban pattern just grew around it. Okay, so that's how we have Hyderabad right now. And Jaipur, as I told earlier, that the Nahargod fort was the administrative symbol, and it all grew around it. And Chandigarh, as we knew, designed by the Lee Corbusier. So it was a different concept that it was divided into the sectors. Okay, so this is how it grew. Okay. So we'll come on Jammu. So Jammu is the second largest city, the winter capital of the UT. Okay, so it is the foothills of Shivalik Trikuta range to the northwest, 600 kilometers away from NCR and about 290 kilometers from Srinagar. So it is well connected from all the regions of our country. Okay, so if we'll talk about Jammu, so this is a city of temples. We call it the city of temples because here it was not only the administrative role. When we talk about the urban pattern of the Jammu, it was two things. It were two things that makes us very interesting things. So it is located on both the banks of the river Tavi. So the old city is situated on the hill on the right bank of river Tavi. Like you can see on this, like there is on the two banks of river Tavi, there is one Mubarak Mandi complex that was a complex of the rulers over there. Then the wall city grew around it, and the growth of the wall city and urban pattern started there. And on the other bank of the Tavi River, so there was a port. Okay, so there it started growing the new city of the Jammu. So this is how the Jammu started growing. Okay. So like if we talk about the old city as we're coming to it, so it was a Mubarak Mandi complex and the mountains in the front, and it started growing like, okay, residential around the complex. And when there used to be say that the nobles stay near any complex and the palace complex, and then other residents live after that. So there was a forest and the residential all grew across, and it is near the river. Okay, so here all the economic, social, cultural activities were concentrated in this old city, and many colonies mushroomed over there because of so many concentration of people, so many concentration of everything, and the palace complex itself. So major fold was there, and the pattern of development grew further so much that now there's need to control it now. Okay. So as it is this picturesque view of Jammu. So as it is old city of Jammu in 1800s, when area was about just considered in 42 kilometer, and then it extended in 1900 and then 2000, and Jammu right now is 189 kilometer and much more than that. Okay. So we'll talk about the imageability of the city of the heritage core. Like we go Elements of the City by Kevin Lynch. We'll see that it is all about the quality of physical object to evoke a sense of image and an observer what he thinks. Okay, so it represents the form of the city and ability of an environment to evoke a mental image. So the core, how it develops and how it forms, and what image it gives us. So Lynch developed a method of analyzing these 5 elements like paths, edges, districts, nodes, and landmarks. Okay, so paths is like the streets and the roads connecting to each other. The nodes are the junctions. We have chokes and all that in the heritage core, and landmarks are obviously the major point of reference. Okay, so it is as we have Mubarak Mandi complex, so that is the major landmark around which the urban patterning of Jammu grew. So similarly, edges having a common feature. And similarly, the district, that we have a new city, we have an older city, and in which there are many districts and they have a common property. Okay, so I'll be talking about few of the elements in this one. So if we talk about parts and of the heritage core of Jammu, so it is the basic accessibility criteria. As we know, it depends within the area of any city. Okay, so in the Jammu, there are the bazaars that are connected to each other. So they are the major paths that connecting to every heritage core. So they are Raghunath Bazaar. Okay, so and they're connected to Kanak Mandi, Residency Road, and they are connected to another road, BC Road. That all connects to the Mubarak Mandi complex. So the basic our urban pattern starts from there itself. So like this is a you can see the Gumbad steps. It is a Gumbad Bazaar. It's on the steps, and okay, and there is a Gumbad gate which opens up through the steps, and we enter into this Raghunath Bazaar. And okay, and then in this Raghunath Bazaar, the major landmark is Raghunath Temple, and the Kanak Mandi, that is the Mandi of grains. So it connects with that. So its whole heritage core is a sustainable model in itself. And then Kanak Mandi connects back to the Residency Road. That's a newer version of all of these. Okay. So, and here is the cross section of Bazaar, and we can see that the buildings are quite close and it's encroached by the on-street parking, because heritage core of Jammu is just getting encroached by so many vehicles, so many tourists, and so many people around it. And if we talk about districts, so they have a common character. The character can be a typical architecture feature of the bazaar or something like that. Like if we talk about in the Jammu, so elements usually are a sabat, a room bridging the street, arches that's spanning between the walls on either side of the street, and wooden balconies. So this is a major identified character of the district. So like nodes, if we talk about, so there are junctions, crossings, and convergence of paths. So in old city of Jammu, as I told, like chowks are the nodes. As it is a heritage core, they have a major name, that is a chowk. So where smaller narrow lanes meet the main street of a mohalla. So that they are the residential paths, that is the mohalla, and mohallas are still then connected to the street or bazaar, and where the people used to meet for a local community and the nodes. Okay, so like major chowks of the city are Raghunath Chowk, junction of intersection of Gumbad Bazaar, so Raghunath Bazaar and the Residency Road. So City Chowk, which connects Raghunath Bazaar to Old City Hospital Road and Kanak Mandi and all. So like this. Okay, so here we have this is a blend of all our elements over here. So we have here Raghunath Temple as a landmark. Okay, so it's a Raghunath Bazaar. So it's a node. It's a path which connects to the Residency Road on the right. Okay, so it's all connected. So here this City Chowk from Raghunath Bazaar towards the Shalimar and Old Hospital Road to Kanak Mandi, that is whole road of grains. So major are old people, old sailors are still there, and in this bazaar. So as we talked about the landmarks, so they are, as I told, there is one I just shared, it's the Raghunath Mandir. There are many more like that, because Jammu is a city of temples, so it all has so many temples around, which started in 1800, then 1900, and it started just capturing all over the Jammu. So it's Gumbad Gate, it's Hanuman Temple, Lakshmi Narayan Temple, Raghunath Temple, and the Raghunath Bazaar, and then the major landmark as we have is Mubarak Mandi complex for the area near the Mubarak Mandi complex. Okay. we'll just talk about this Mubarak Mandi complex. That is the Darbar Ghar complex. And that time, it was the major administrative control here. Okay, so it is a 300 years old royal residence of Dogra rulers, where the administrative control were there, and it's looking over, and it's located at Haispur near the Tavi River, overlooking the breathtaking valley of the Tavi Valley. On one side, on one bank of the Tavi River, there is Mubarak Mandi Palace. Okay, so it is a rich and glorious heritage of Dogras. There were Dogra rulers in this Jammu, so it is all their tangible heritage. Okay. So if we go ahead with the style of architecture they have, as architecture is predominantly Hindu, being the Dogra rulers over there, but it has interspersed Islamic influence of late Mughal period with a blend of modified European style and Rajasthani features. So it's a combination of so many architecture features. So like we have combination of Rajasthani features with motifs of late Mughal period and European motifs with the Jarokhas, and we have wooden carved balconies that can be just you know, a part of a heritage core. Okay, and like we have Jarokhas here, wooden with the wooden balconies, and the chamfered corners that is the late Mughal period's architecture style. And there are arches of different styles from the different periods we have. And there were domes, that was the basic major element of the Mubarak Mandi complex. And there were arcaded corridors are all over in the complex. A very beautiful heritage element of this. And they have courtyards. So how it appeared, the change in the architecture characters of the city. I'm just talking about long back when it was the actual scenario, how it looked. So this was a beautiful Mubarak Mandi complex with the arcaded corridors, the huge gateways, okay, and with the dome and the wooden balconies we just talked about. So now it is shaped into such a manner due to such encroachment, due to everything around it, due to the scenario right now. So these are the pictures taken in the bazaar, from bazaar. So how they have just deteriorated the architecture. So if we analyze the main issues in the core area, which is the basic basic problems for this destruction, for the deterioration of all the architecture core we have, the heritage area we have is like, we have like low area now under roads and bazaars. So when we have Raghunath Bazaar, there are temples, there are so many markets over there, and they're all encroached, and the very low area just remains there just to move or for pedestrian things, and excessive congestion due to ribboning of commercial activity along the road and lane. One, there is find that there is a Kanak Mandi that basically is for greens, the Raghunath Bazaar that is for all J&K's heritage intangible stuff. But this is excessive congestion due to ribboning of commercial activities happening more over the road, along the roads and the lanes, and it just decreased that sense of society, that sense of interaction between the local people over there. So that's why there is no lack of desired open spaces and parks left, so that the people can just enjoy the heritage core while walking around and going around their city. So as we are talking about that, what all happened to this beautiful city of the Jammu? So what we can do about it to just maintain it, okay, and can just improve it somehow. So as there are no places to interact and people can't just find a way to move even, okay. So as there are so many people, so many markets are growing up, so many hawkers are there and so many people are there. So there is a need to encourage the pedestrian-friendly measures, okay. So that would reduce the vehicular congestion in the core. So that will give a beautiful look to the heritage, okay. People can walk and just enjoy that heritage walk in the city core. And cycling and walking can be promoted in those areas, because that is still fine, that is, you know, pollution free, and people just enjoy it in the beautiful core, walking just slowly, cycling just slowly and all. And there are many street furnitures over there, signages, okay, so that need to be improved, like there are many over there, okay. Street furniture, signages, footpaths, drains, and provision of more street furniture, so that people can actually feel the heritage core. Okay, we are sitting in the front of Raghunath Mandir and we can see, okay, this is, it was, and now it looks like this, okay. So there need to be network of open spaces and parks where people can actually come again and interact there and sit. Okay, the old people, the newer generation should know, okay, this was our heritage core from where we grew. And so, and this makes the architecture, this adds to the architecture value of the city. And there is a need to make concrete policies for redevelopment of heritage core of Jammu City. So, though there are many in the master plan, new master plan, still there need to be many. So, and there is a need to adopt the buffer and visual controls as per the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958. So it is so in all that we see that to maintain the imageability of any heritage core, as I'm talking about old city of Jammu. So I also feel that it should be maintained in such a way so that an architect should feel, okay, so this is how I converted it. I can see an image of the heritage core to be, right? So we need to consider these issues in any heritage core, and I'm talking about Jammu. So that's where there's architecture, congestion, encroachment, the lack of amenities in the paths and in the nodes. So, and there is a reason that people are increasing so much. The increase in population is so much and is concentrated over one area, because it's heritage core, the old city, the major markets and the major commercial activities happen here because of lots of tourists here, and so many, you know, people outside India also can come here to just see all over things. So there are many people. So they are just, and also just the people who are here. Okay. So there is an increase in population that is aggravating the problems pertaining to the core city. So somehow that image is somewhere getting lost. Okay. And that's why enhancement, it should be enhanced as a major aspect for future planning and development. That, okay, it is very much required now. It's a major thing that, and you know, basic or an important core of the heritage core to just see its image as its own. Okay. So and majorly there is a need for appropriate sustainable methodology to alter the city so that its image can be maintained for centuries. As we were just talk about that, there is a fort and there is a palace complex over there, and the nature, and they grew around over 2 banks of the Tavi River. So they all are interconnected, you know, they make a heritage core. The walled city of Jammu itself is a sustainable model, or any heritage core is a sustainable model. That's why they are making that's why it's heritage. That's why we need to preserve it. We need to talk about it. We need to do more about it as a sustainable model, because it started as a sustainable model in itself. So like a city is a place, there is a saying that a city is a place that is large enough to sustain itself in all its undertakings, but not so large that its inhabitants lose communication with each other. So that is why we maintain the architectural dignity of heritage of any city. Okay, so that is very much required. So that should be there, so that it can sustain for centuries. So every generation, as it evolved with every generation, so they must be knowing about it. Okay, so how we started, and this is the architecture heritage we have, and what we have left with us. So this is all with my topic. So Jai Hind. Okay, Aditi. I think I've covered in the less time. I don't know.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Shashank.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you, Lokakshi, for such a beautiful presentation you have presented here. It is very informative. It gives us the background of how the city is, Jammu, from the last 18th century till now, how it evolves, how it expands throughout the city. What is the major challenges you're facing in the city, and you have very beautifully aligned all the elements of Kelvin Lynch towards the city. How the city explain the concept of Kelvin Lynch. It is very, very proper in the way, and it is very good, very informative. Thank you so much. Okay, passing to the Pranay. Hello, Pranay.
Yeah, Lokakshi, thank you so much. We are ready to take up questions from our participants. Till then, they type in something. I would like to ask you a question. I just want to know how much people are aware about this heritage thing over there. I mean, in Jammu, because normally we see when the city grows in a very haphazard manner. So people are not much that aware that this is our heritage. We have to preserve it. It has our history in it. It has the essence of our city in it. So how much are people aware in Jammu about this heritage thing?
Yeah, I'm very much sure that very less people are aware of this. So this reminded me of an incident when I was actually there for my case study in the wall city, searching for all these stuff. So I was with somebody, and she was not aware of. She was living in that city. She was not aware of that. Okay, this is here. This is in the city itself. So it was actually reminded me of that stuff. So I don't think so many people are not aware, or maybe due to such a scenario right now that is so congested. So people really don't want to go there, like what I see.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is this one of the reasons.
Whenever we see some any of the old city, like you have mentioned Banaras or Old Bhopal, as a matter of fact, Old Bhopal, if you see Banaras, if you see, if you see, these old cities are very much congested. So some people are aware about it, aware about the heritage, but some people are very much into commercializing their activity more rather than paying attention to the heritage. I would like to ask one more question. What would you suggest our students to go in a way of research on this Jammu portion? What would you suggest our students that how they should approach the studies if they want to do any research on Jammu? What should be their approach? How can they study it from distance? If we have, do we have any research material over internet or in any of the sources? Or if any of the key people, those are working in Jammu right now?
Okay. So it's like there is lot to do. There is lot to research about it. You should go in the like I started. Like there are 2 months, and when I started researching myself, also I was not aware. Those okay. So fort is at that side, and palace is at that side. As we talked about, that was the administrative control, and that was the our regional symbol. So it started growing like that. So now the trainees, now students need to go there to just see, okay, so the basic thing they should just grab, okay, then they should start researching. Otherwise, if they will start with, only just I was talking about the bazaars or the paths in the heritage core, so they'll just not reach the main heritage core of the city. So they just need to go beyond it so that they can actually just feel.
Okay. Yeah, we have a question from Yogesh Yadav. He's saying it's very challenging to get desired open spaces in historic core areas. What you suggest would how should this issue can be resolved?
So it's like, as we talked about, that there are so many, junctions. That was the space where people used to come. Okay, people used to interact with each other over there, and now as there are some open spaces, small patches of open spaces where people used to enjoy the heritage, the food, or just see there what is happening there or around it. So there must be there, but with this congestion, with this everything, so we are not able to see that correctly. Okay, so we are not able to just judge. Okay, will there be any open space to just do something or to create something? So that's why I mentioned also there is need to go beyond it, just not to see it. Bahar se we can just see the parts and we will see, okay, there is no open space. So how it's just not just possible to just create one? So it is actually possible that way. There are some spaces out there. There is a need to see the image of our heritage core that way.
Lokakshi, I would also want to ask you one thing.
Sure.
Yeah. So as you were talking about the character of the heritage city or the heritage core, if we say so. So I feel as a conservation expert, I feel that a lot of the character of the heritage core is composed by the cluster and the the chaos that is over there. That is the intangible feel to that place. So do you feel removing that encroachment would not hinder the character of the core? Or what is the other ways to conserve the core along with the character?
Actually, if we're talking about that, encroachment is about, there are so many things going on the roads, and that is also one part of the heritage, we'll say, or now it is now. But the major area, the major portion, if we'll see, it's encroached by the vehicular movement, the extra things that we can actually avoid, and that can be removed from there. And that's why I added up that if it will be a pedestrian movement totally, with the cycling and with the walking, and people can walk over their heritage core, so it will be there. It can be maintained that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's another question from Partho. He's asking, as you're working in BSF, you can probably explain us how the city behaves under security issues. JNK, the city does fall under the criteria of public security in public places, public spaces. So, how does the city behave under security issues?
Okay, so it's like I'm working in BSF, but BSF as it is, it's Border Security Force. it also acts as in the interior part. So, but not in J&K, obviously, you know about it. Okay, so I'm not actually doing something about security issues, but we keep updating we try to just, you know, keep the security things and all that, but it doesn't come actually under the border security force to just do it about it. Okay, so it's something like that, I can say.
All right. Do we have any more questions? I think there are not more questions. Yeah, we got one more. This is from Yogesh Yadav. You see, most of the historic dharmashalas and havelis being demolished for commercial use instead of adaptive reuse in core areas. What to do if there is no strong legal framework for some areas and ownership is not able to renovate? So he's asking, I think he's asking about most of the havelis and dharmashalas are getting destroyed due to commercial activities instead of adaptive reuse of it. So, what is your take on this? I think that is the question.
Actually, there is, that's what I'm saying, that there is, we need to protect the earlier, what it was there in the core. You know, these were the part of that, the old dharamshalas and havelis itself. Dharamshalas can be, you know, may not be having the character of the main architecture character of the basic cities, but havelis, I must say, there must be like a fort, like a palace complex. You know how they are not actually getting demolished; they are being used for other purpose now. Maybe we can just turn it into the museums and you know, some administrative control over there, so that it will be reusing. We will be reusing them. Now itself, if you will see that the Mubarak Mandi complex, first it was just losing its grace and all that. Now it was there is some plan going on for the renovation of it, and it's already one museum is in the palace complex itself. Maybe one part of it, but maybe they are into, you know, converting all into some of the other features or something about the heritage core. And also, yeah, if we talk about the legal frame, the legal framework, strong legal framework. So yeah, there is a requirement from our act, the ancient act, and to create some policies to just stop the things right now there or there, so that we can just convert the architectural buildings somehow to some other use, or like I said, as a museum, so that people can see there. So it will never gonna be lost there. Okay.
Yeah, so it also depends on the significance of the structure. Unless it's
right.
identified by the local authorities or the state archaeology or ASI, it is hard to save the structure on the on.
Yeah, but that
unless and until that owner desires to save it, if it is not identified by any of the authorities.
Yeah. Yes. So that all depends upon how it goes and how they take it, and with the consent of the local authorities and our this trust for architecture heritage and all that. So it's a long process with the policies and all to just check it out with the framework, how it goes.
Yeah, right. There's another question. Yeah.
Like you are saying, as you were just discussing, you guys, that the importance of the building and the new use that you're planning for the building, don't you think they should confirm with each other? Because usually what happens in our country is that we just designate any heritage structure to a museum. the museum is the basic use that we apply to each and every heritage structure that we want to conserve or preserve or whatever, because we think that, you know, putting it to use would maintain it. But is it justified for a palace like Mubarak Mandi to just put it to a museum use, and instead of, you know, creating a more active and participation area for people where it could be called as a social you know, social gathering place rather than just a museum? That's what I think.
Yeah, you're very right, because complex used to be like this. Mubarak Mandi complex
Correct.
used to see itself as a, you know, community complex in itself. And there are that, this is that thing also that you are talking about, that it can be converted into the thing where cultural thing can happen. If we talk about, it's already happening in many of the forts and complexes in Rajasthan.
Mm-hmm.
So they are actually maintaining the,
exactly.
maintaining the
That's
heritage.
what I was trying to say. Because that
So
way we would lose the intangible part of the heritage. Then only the structure would be there, the feel would be lost if we convert it to the museum.
So we can just incorporate, like, you know, combine both of the things, and it can come into a very good feel, you know.
Correct. Right.
There's one more question from Ravi. He's asking, you must have been at borders at times as an architect. Do you detail some other heritage buildings you noticed during your border visits? How do you differentiate the architecture, the one in the seminar topic? He's asking about, do you noticed any heritage building over the borders? Have you visited the border?
Yeah, actually, when it's like, okay, so when I visited many borders, like if I'll go around Punjab border, I can say, I'll not say more about it because it will be out of my confidential thing, but still, I'll go ahead with this a little. So when I roamed around the border of the Punjab, so there were many architecture features, architecture characters, and itself, if you can see that we have the Wagah border, right, Atari border. So that itself, if you will see now and what it was before, so there is a huge difference. They maintained it because there is a use of that building, the area, the community area over there, right? So similarly, there were many structures, like there are many. If you will see the parade of Atari, there are many in the it was Firozpur.
Right.
So there are buildings over there. You can see the image of the remains of that heritage that Punjab had at that time. And you feel right there, okay, so I will be able to just maintain it and do something about it to just maintain it. And to maintain it somehow so that people can see, okay, this is what we had and this is what we should have right now as well.
According to the present scenario, you know, the way the cities are growing, the way things are happening, do you think it's possible to go back to the same conditions that we had before?
No, actually we cannot, because there is lack of many things out there. And as being conservationists, you must be knowing already, obviously, that there are many, you know, these eras like Antag, there's many things are doing so much about it that they are dedicated about it. So whatever, I think they must be incorporating maximum of their being, I would say. You know, we don't know how much they are putting in, but I'm sure that they must be putting in, because when you feel about your heritage now, so there is a feel. So okay, so this should be maintained. Being an architect, then also being in a, you know, like you are in a conservation or however. Okay, so I myself, like I'll tell, being a part of Jammu, I'm myself resident of Jammu, and studying all over it, being a sustainable architect and an architect. So I felt that, okay, and maybe there is a need maybe I connect with somebody to do over it, or so I can share it with many of our architects who will be doing it all. So there is something. So this must be with many of our architect community.
Definitely. I don't think it's just with the architects. I feel it's with everybody. You know, everybody connects with their city. Everyone identifies with the heritage of the city, basically, because that is where we come from. Yeah. So that identification is always there. Right.
That identification is right. That's why when tourists or outsiders come, they feel, okay, this we see about Jammu, this we saw about Jaipur. So that is the identification of any heritage, any kind of heritage.
That's the image that people carry with themselves.
Yeah. So this is how we come to the image of the heritage core of the city.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I created it.
Another question from Ravi was, can we revert back today to the old heritage? Same thing as Aditi asked right now. So I think Ravi got his answer. Any more questions from audience?
Any more questions?
Yeah, are you asking?
I think there are more questions. So,
we can actually, as we talked about that. Yeah.
Thank you, Lokakshi. Thank you so much.
Yeah, as there's written that we can actually revert back to the old heritage that we were all talking about, that we can do something about it to maintain it, to restore it, okay, to do something about it, but we cannot just go ahead and just get back those structures that were made. But we can just let's not lose it.
Right. We can preserve it, basically, not back to the same situation, but yes, we can at least keep it the way it is.
Yeah, we have very fantastic examples in Jaipur and nearby places where there are several cities are being preserved and it has converted into hotels, museums. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I have also visited to Firozpur. You have mentioned. I have visited one of old railway stations over there. That narrow gauge
right.
over there. And, the track was going towards across the border. I mean, that track doesn't exist now, but we can see the remaining track across the border. And that is a fantastic place.
On the Satluj River, disconnect.
Right. That place, and also Atari border. As you have mentioned, Atari border. I have visited, I guess, 15 years back. When I visited, there was nothing, and I mean, not much people used to visit that place. But right now, we have a huge arena kind of thing, and people are cheering. Bharat Mata Ki Jai. It feels great. It feels good, and it feels connected with the neighboring country also. That's a great thing. I mean, that's it. That place also has many museum and this thing Havelis and all. It's good to restore.
This is just one example that if you talk about the Atari border or you are talking about the Firozpur border, now they are only not the, just for this thing. They are also they have created museums so that we can actually see the heritage of there. Okay, as you're talking about the station, there is that Bhagat Singh and all, that place is there. Okay, so that is our heritage. Okay. It is there. Yeah, so it is all over there to maintain, to let everybody know who go there that, okay, this is what we need to maintain. We need to go through.
So I guess there are no more questions from the participants. We can conclude the session.
Yeah. So first of all, discussion rather, I would say it was nice discussing things with you, and it was a great presentation. Thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to have you again. And I would also like to thank all our participants for joining us this evening. And do follow us on Instagram, follow our Facebook page, go to our YouTube channel, and there you can find the videos of all the sessions being uploaded very soon. And yeah, that's it for the evening. Stay in the loop.